Try a short one. This is Crypto Sniper. Yes, indeed. So many people confused by Bitcoin. I am in the 2-hour time frame. Many of you will recognize where we are. It has been squeezing higher. Many people are afraid of a rising wedge potential structure that I'm illustrating here with a red line. Excuse me. Obviously, you don't travel upwards at the same momentum. Once you get a little bit higher, the air gets a bit thinner. And a lot of people expecting pullbacks and slapdowns. Many people actually are even comparing this with, heading up to the bigger time frame, let's correct that chart for scaling, are comparing it with this here. This is what I call sort of like a post-trauma behavior, where everything, your greatest fear is this accident you've just recently had. Because there's recency in your brain, and you lost money, so it hurt. The things that cost you money, you remember, and as a result, it's quite painful. So everyone, getting quite a few people that's saying, you looky likey, watch here, sniper, there, watch here, sniper, there, then there. And you kind of get it, there, then there. And then watch here, sniper, there, then there. And then you go, yeah, there, then there. And then a final high, yep. And a final high, yep. And then that's it. You know, it's the same movie. We're about to puke 55% again. And they have this kind of level of associative thinking. And the key difference here is that this is not anywhere near the volatility that you were experiencing in percentage swings. You could say there was a rising wedge there, and we've also shown you that there was one in there as well on the shoulder. That was our get out into stablecoin call over there. And by the way, the target was there. That was our get back long into Bitcoin. It's not half bad. You know, a lot of people talk about nailing Bitcoin and they've never got a call wrong and they're absolutely on top of it. I don't think that's too bad. But you know, we're not always accurate either. But that was the construct that people are saying, and that in essence, this is already the beginning of that, and that this rally is already a kind of a right shoulder thing. And the key part of all of that is the fact that you don't have anywhere near the same degree of volatility. This is one of the most useful and valuable things we bring. We don't want financials, we want indicators, is the volatility assessment. Just take a normal historical volatility. That's where you were volatility-wise going into all of this. Big swings and high. You're quite a bit lower here. You're quite a bit lower. That doesn't mean we can't have what we refer to in all of this as a bit of a squaring up. There is a bit of a rounding. People are right to have observed a slowing down. It's not all moonshoot in Bitcoin land. If you do this, we refer to this as convexity. It's a sort of rounding out there. But you also kind of had a small amount of broadening, and then you got tightening again. So it's not plain cut and dry. And as you can see, volatility is much lower than when you were knocking out these highs and crashing down. Up top there, big down, there, big down. So it's not the same. It's not the same yet. That doesn't mean we're going all the way to 60, 65 in this up move. We can take some time and do what I would consider potentially what's a wind up, which it means calming down and winding up. And this is a little bit of what we think is happening right now. This is a squaring up for a bigger move to take you up. And again, we suspect up is the answer. Up is the answer. And I think we've just had a key moment, and that's why you're going to get it. You're getting it after the premium guys have got it. And I think this is going to be a permissioning Bitcoin right now in an event that I will show you on a lower time frame, in my worldly opinion, as just permissioned an alt run. Some of those alts will start running, some of them will diddle and daddle. The early ones are favored, the strong ones. Some of the ones that I've mentioned to you will be the likes of Solana, expected to continue to overperform. Expect ADA to continue to overperform and to be strong. I gave ICP, if you're following me on Twitter, which has been in a structure, you can also expect that to do reasonably well. They're all in structures. We have a host of others that we have got. We've probably never had this crop of potential HVFs simultaneous, which means there's an alt run seriously waiting to get out, be let out the bag. But the boss decides if that's going to happen. And who's the boss of direction? Your God market, the good old mighty old Bitcoin. And I'm calling it a key pivotal moment. Most people won't be noticing that. So let's put on our mood music and show you why. So there's some of the annotations. I'll say goodbye to volatility and we'll show you this. This is likely to move up, I said, and we've been waiting for this whole thing skidding, low vol skidding. And I said to my community in the premium, we want a final little spill through the neckline, which is the 47.5. That will probably be my most likely scenario. Recorded this morning, we've been set for this. We've taken in most of our positions, the guys that want to and are keen and have bought into it. We're non-advisory, remember. People will do what they want to do, but they're learning the skill sets. We pointed out this is a basing descending grind line, and we call it beagle, as in floppy dog ears. And we of course have a basing ascending grind line. We call it the badger. The badger and the beagle have met. Where did the badger and the beagle meet? They met at the neckline, right there. That's this red line over here. We needed the skidding down to end. It showed tactical buying. This is why you got that hammer wick right there. And that's why when you were back down here, you were getting these hammer wicks, hammer, shooting star, not ready to go, hammer, not ready to go, deeper hammer, ready to go, rejection. All the sellers are being let out. All the sellers are being let out. You're having a rejection. You're going to be hearing this whenever it's finished finalizing. I can tell you what the time is at UTC. +3, you're 11 minutes past 7 in the evening. And I can tell you that that is looking very strong. Now, it doesn't need to. Bitcoin does not need to do anything unbelievably spectacular. The trade is alts. The gatekeeper who permissions the trade is Bitcoin. So the analysis is on Bitcoin so that you can trade the correct alt setups. I've given you a couple. I'm not going to drill down on the alts. This is all about Bitcoin giving you the key permission. So you can take the ones I've already mentioned, or you could be getting into setups. If you want to be in our premium community, there's links below. You can know all the ones that I'm in and that we've been discussing and analyzing inside our Sniper Circle community in terms of those that will potentially perform. And they're quite a broad school. So it's a well-supported alt run. The total 2 chart will move up, in my opinion. I'm expecting ETH to do reasonably well too. I think it might even surprise a few people. It could even steal some of the headlines for a short spell. So it's lagged the likes of Cardano and ADA during this period because of usual stories, gas costs, etc., etc., etc. So this is a key event. Falling wedge, right down to the key level. Lengthy, long-standing, basing, ascending grind. I should actually put the badger in slightly thicker red. We'll go the whole way. And the beagle's not quite the aggression of the badger, but he's been serving us well here. This basically a tactical retreat, broadening structure on a sell-off means you're going to go lower. Then the key spinning tops close to the key level, the neckline, the 47.5. This is HVF method at its finest, teaching you and bringing you what you could and should see. This rejection is key. As I say, Bitcoin doesn't need to do a lot. In fact, one of the best things for us in this Bitcoin move is that it doesn't do any great shakes. It doesn't even run that high. So bear in mind, I'm not telling you a moon shoot on Bitcoin. I'm telling you a permissioning of upside for bigger moves in select alt tokens, which we are engaged in. It's quite good for this badger to get broken over here, the basing ascending grind. It's quite good for it to get broken, for this whole structure to square up like that, and later for a break for the 50 to take place. Why have we stalled so long? Because the key levels are clustered here. This is the neckline. Just wipe the face a little bit. This is the neckline, and that is the 50K mark. Is there a more significant number for Bitcoin before 100K than 50K? I would argue unlikely to be so. Unlikely to be so. And you had a small little iceberging moment where you stuck your head above the parapet on 50. The bulk of this stall box, which actually has some compression in it as well, that's the squeeze, is all about the wind up you needed to get above the 47k. Broken with momentum, comes back, starts to support. Just broken, then you get a pump. Broken with momentum on the downside. Resistance, 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 little resistances, wicks, selling wicks, selling wicks, broken with momentum. Typical key level of significance. Now that was the Fed non-taper announcement. Up, 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 up. She goes, comes back down and touches like a butterfly over water. A little footy touchdown. The tiniest of little ripples. There you go. I warned the guys. We run this. It's over for my hypothesis. We've got to hold a higher level, and it's typical for it to have a final little spill. This is your cradle of the Beagle and the Badger right there, and you needed to reject. And that for me is happening. This has been a critical moment. I've been sitting here all day like an anxious puppy waiting for his puppies to arrive. That is what's going down for me. And no one's going to see the significance of this because they're not students of HVF method. This is a key turning point. And as I say, it's going to be an anticlimax. If you think I'm calling for a major moonshoot on Bitcoin, all we need is a little firming up. Look, it could go great guns, run this high and have a spike through the 50 and then rest and, you know, stay here and grind along. It could do that. That's quite bullish. The truth of the matter is all we need is for it to symmetrically square up. That's it. And during that period, the alts know Bitcoin's not falling through its backside. They will go and do what they set up to go do. And that will be probable overperformance. But Bitcoin itself, if I look at Bitcoin dominance, could actually surprise. It could actually surprise. It's not my prediction. I'm not making a prediction of it, but it could actually surprise a number of people, and it could be super strong. It could go up to our splitter, have a return to the 50 and go all the way to this other side up top here where these lines are in play. So, you know, but it's not required. The key aspect is the trade for me is the likes. By the way, those who like bull tokens, who have high risk profile, ETHBULL, perfect HVF. So you can go and try that. HVFs with fast moving breakouts with very little pullbacks are the best setup to be in leverage tokens. There's no other reason to be in a leverage token unless it's pumping. Single-mindedly with not very many pullbacks. Over the long run, the leverage tokens get crushed because of the down moves and the descaling and the reduction of size. So it's not a hodl coin. Be careful. I've mentioned them a few times. I don't want people losing their shirts as a result of them. It's not advice. You have to be advanced to do that. You've got to have the risk profile to do it. But this is such a lovely key capture point at such a key level. Look at that, the 47.5 neckline. I love technical analysis when it just falls apart in the right hands. You need the right hands. You need to understand and see the magic of the read. I mentioned ETHBULL, so I'll show it to you. Yeah, double click, double click. Okay, okay. So here's ETHBULL. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Remember to adjust for regular scale and log scale. So beautiful structure here. Now working its way up. Let's show you in full view. We've bit of volume of price that we can actually probably let go, but we'll leave it there. Perfectly aligned with our axis. Isn't it beautiful? I love it when things work out and that the lines start falling into place. Anyway, so first impulse, second, third, and there you go. We're working our way. Is it triggered yet? No, this is early call. Listen, we always aim to be early. That means we will have a higher probability of being inaccurate or wrong or early, and early is fancy way of saying wrong. So please bear that in mind. This is never advice. This is my take on a market, but it is a critical moment in our assessment, and I've made sure all my guys know exactly how I feel about it, and they'll be taking all the action they see fit in the areas that we've assessed to be good and that makes sense to them. So watch this. Watch this. That is the highest point, just a bit higher. It's flattened the structure. If you get a fast run, by the way, we have a special way that we trade leverage tokens with regards to this, and it doesn't involve necessarily closing it at that target. You can find out more about leverage tokens and overperformance in a link below. If building money and growing your wealth is important to you in reset times, oh my God, I'll get on one of my rants again. I won't even go there. So that was ETH, but even ETH USDT looks fine. This is a marginally higher high. So this is likely, in my opinion, once it breaks above the splitter here and above that level, to probably pop out the top potentially, if we have the run we can. We might have a fizzling run and it could all get stamped on by Bitcoin and it could all roll over and the loss of momentum could turn into that rising wedge and break down. That's how we be wrong. Remember, we can always be wrong. That's how we be wrong. This could go up over here. It could have a little bit of run, exhaust and sell off hard through our badger there, which is in the dark fat red. And next thing you know, then the floor's down to 44 for me, which would mean the 44 would run. That means you would have a number in the 43. So if you were like this, and you were making little pippy, grinding, hanging very tight, can't hold it, boom, you would re-rally after running the 47.5, and then boom, you would probably be through the 44. That's how it goes bare wrong on us. And there is, marginally higher high there than here, and you're not made one here. In some senses, it's good for me that we didn't make one, but I think we get enough that this is our bear scenario, our problem scenario, how we be wrong scenario, and it's quite plausible, but I think we'll escape. I think Bitcoin has enough further just to stay in the range for a little while, and then those alts can be allowed to do what they want to do. So there you go. We've given you a super quick heads up. Now it is a potential turning point. So if we're wrong, we're 180 degrees wrong, and I'm sure all of you will be right there in the comments to tell us exactly that. And we do our damnedest to look for high risk reward trades. That implies that we are jumping into some risky positions where many people would rather not be playing because of that. Look, this is not super strong. It's not super impulsive, but it just has to go quiet and inch up and then get a little bit of momentum as we get later in the day. The American session gets a bit deeper. These things can all manifest rather nicely. Bitcoin is potentially, on balance of probabilities, if it maintains this level, permissioning an altcoin run. If it breaks through as a second deep dive, what we've referred to as the badger, and even runs the 47.5, the neckline, and then goes for a spill and is starting to trade at these levels, you're probably falling out the falling wedge. You should close all trades related to that. So that's your level of failure. That's where we be wrong. I wouldn't even want to see us run the low of that hammer. I think it can go boring, a little bit quiet. It's rejected. It doesn't mean it's about a pump. It can sit and prove this point and drift for a while. Bitcoin is direction, however. So awesome. Quick shout out for the Hexicans that are enjoying a good period. Still got a 25.55 target out there, but making great. Look at this little wind up on the second interim. Is there a better method than HVF method to give you the next in? You could have got into this trade late if you'd missed it initially. I mean, Hex, amazingly, and I didn't want to turn this into anything too much. In Hex, it seems to drive people bonkers, certain people anyway. By the way, Ethereum was 70% pre-mine. Just saying. Better someone you know than maybe one you don't. But that doesn't mean, as I say, no promo. Little bit of a wind up there as well to get you up to the second interim. So that's been very, very good. Tends to sometimes battle when the rest of the alts run, and not battle, still does well, but be very good in the weak points. So it's a kind of interesting hedger. But it's all about Bitcoin. Watch what it does. Set your alerts. Is it going to move higher? Set alerts below there to warn you if it's turning down. At that point, if we start to have any kind of momentum breaking here, and it's a distinct possibility. So guys think it's about being right. No, I want to jump into those moments where I get the highest reward and be wrong sometimes and be right sometimes. That's it, because I like high reward trading. That means taking risks that no one else is taking. If that sells off and you have tight money management, you're out. We're done well before you've run this final low if you start to spill, because there's too many levels here that it would break. It would break the beagles back, it would break the badgers back, and it would dip through the neckline and have a candle close on a 2-hour time frame below the neckline. I'm out. It's quick. I'm happy to spend that check. You've got to buy a ticket to win it. But the difference is the scale of moves on alts and the potential profit is much higher. So actually, it's a risky trade, but in terms of the reward to the potential loss trade, it's very high. Being right or wrong, I've got a very high probability of actually being wrong. But I could lose a $50, and being right, I could make 10 grand. So I've got to do it. I've got to do it. And I don't think there isn't a good fighter's chance that this call is inaccurate. Okay, so those are the principles. For those that will come rushing back and saying you're wrong, those are the principles. We did give you ICP already on Twitter, and we did give you ADA, and we had given you Solana. They are not specifically in HVFs anymore, although we did tell you that ADA is in a HVF against Ethereum, and we expect Ethereum actually to outperform. Drew a little bit of a rising wedge. I think you can have a little bit of a pullback on the ADA Ethereum, and you might have a spell. Don't forget, we ran our second interim on ADA Ethereum, that line there. So is it a surprise we're having a pullback? That's the nature of HVF method. You can learn more about it. Click the link below. Develop the skills. Don't sit there waiting for people to throw fish at you, guys. Come on. I'm throwing a few fish at you and saying, isn't it nice to eat fish? Learn to fish. Don't come on for a trade feed. Come on to grow, and come on to keep the money you make, learning real skill sets to sustain you. Because if you get a perfect new trade feed and you get 3 winners in a row and you over leverage and you make $1 million, you'll think this is easy, and you will give that $1 million absolutely right back in the next trades when you start doing it on your own, because you haven't developed. Money flows from those who know how to manage it towards those who know how to manage it, and away from those who don't. So a little bit of a pullback on ADA. I think actually there'll be a short spell here where Ethereum could actually overperform. Why are you at the second interim? But long run, ADA going to be boss. So it might be just a short dip and then up we go, but there's a rising wedge. So I don't think you have to charge into ADA right now, but in the longer run, it's going to be an outperformer. So that was one we'd shown you before. Look at it. You could have got in really early. You could have got in over here. You could have got in at this bull flag at any point. This is against Ethereum that it was doing this. In fact, if we have a look at the ADA USDT chart, we actually warned that there would be a pullback potentially here. That was beautiful. Come and kiss the last relative high. It was absolutely amazing. Look at that melt up out of that wedge. By the way, don't forget, much bigger followers on TA than me were calling this a head and shoulders, and we were just like, no, 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 it isn't. No, it isn't. This is falling wedge, second half. Up it goes. The context of the market is so rarely appreciated. As you ran that high, look at that broadening structure with a downward bias sets up continuation. You keep buying. Look at that come and kiss the previous high and back up. So this tiny bit bloated ADA, so you might be able to get it a bit cheaper on dollar, but you'll certainly get it a bit cheaper against ETH. I think ETH might have a little bit of a catch-up run. So how's ETH doing, speaking of which? Oh, my goodness, it's bouncing on its axis after this HVF made target. Of course it made target. So what happened? It pulled back. It also happened to have made the 20% run, the key round number for ETH dominance in the market. So it went down, 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 and sat here. What's happening? Its rivals, Solana and ADA, are pumping, and it's been left out. Now maybe a bit of catch-up. There's announcements, there's things coming out all the time on ADA, Ethereum. There's certainly been some work going on. This is a hard little bounce. I don't see it trading below this, and I think ETH dominance will come back a little bit. Kind of now like a double top almost in there, but it is also still in and accepted for us macro HVF. We still see the chance for 22.7% to occur. SBTC, have a look at that. Also down, down, down. We squeezed this. I discussed this with my community. I said this is an upside HVF squeezy coming. Ethereum is going to be, I have the leverage token and ETH in the market. This is going to have Ethereum in it. You've seen this. I've given this for free, this FBTC. ETH will still outperform Bitcoin. I don't care what maxis say. I don't care. I'm totally agnostic. I can tell you ADA is going to outperform ETH in the medium term until it runs that target as well, and probably longer. So, you know, I don't choose teams. This little squeezy we were watching and discussing with our community, and I was saying this was going to be a turn into the upside. Look at that. ETH against Bitcoin, guys. You should be long it. Said it's going to overperform. ETH, we've already shown you the bull on it. This is pumping at the moment while I'm talking. We started at 1911, it's 1929 already. So I said a couple of other tokens for you. We said Sol, You've seen this is just continuing to squeeze. Are we in the log scale now? I might have to adjust that to reg just for those channels to go in. This is overperformance on its setup. We gave you on this channel. We gave you first, Bitcoin was going to accumulate and it will turn. Then we gave you trade Ethereum long, pivot out of Ethereum into Solana, pivot out of Solana or move some Solana and Ethereum into ADA. That's where you've got. That's what's happened. Target made, overperformance. That has been a beast. It was an unbelievable call. It still is. I don't think it's over, but Ethereum might steal some thunder as well because they're kind of adversarial. And if Ethereum's going to have a run, it'll hoover up the platform money a little bit. But I still think this guy goes more and more and more. I'm happy to have it as a core holding, as you should be. So other Solana core holdings. So I think those were the ones I spoke to you about. We also spoke about ICP on Twitter, and that one has, and it's a control structure through and through, nasty as all hell. We were discussing this in the community. This is your future internet perverts controlling, the control structure. Wanting to control what you watch and see. This is in a great breakout, and we can see ICP making 88 as part of this next move. That doesn't mean it only makes 88, doesn't mean it can't overperformance. What it does mean is I actually shared a tweet where our entries were in on that pullback and our stop is there. We actually have a 34.14 risk reward. Are you chasing R's or are you trying to be right? I have a much higher chance of being wrong, but when I'm right, the R's are big. That is a 34.14R. Go check that tweet out on the Crypto Sniper, the entries. You can see the actual entries on an FTX platform on there. Bang. Super tight on the pullback because this was strong, small pullback. But it's pulled back now. It's got a fair bit to do. We'll see if it gets its mojo back. But it was looking quite twitchy and strong from this up leg and from this break upside. We'll see if that comes back into play. So those are three. There's plenty more that we'll be able to we'll be discussing in our premium community. Hit the link below. Grab the mini series if you have no money. Save everything a month, every little bit you can every month. Don't keep money in the banks. They're going to probably bail in banks at some point. You need to get assets. This is the great inflation, and Powell had to admit that taper ain't coming. But the big story is, for me, it had to break and fall Bitcoin for the bear, and at the first chance it had where it could capitulate, it actually decided not to. It decided not to. It did a technical break with a wick test, and it went straight into a hammer. That's what's gone down on the lower time frames. That's what I'm sharing with you. Go grab your alts. It's a sardine run. Bring a bucket, go stand on the beach. If you feel the confidence, if you can see it happening, if you can find the right alts that are in setups for playing catch up. And remember, we can always be wrong, and the break of these levels would be the beginning of that. The difference that makes this interesting is the rewards to the upside way outweigh. So let's say you have a 30% chance of being right. That's not an actual number that I think, but let's just say, but you stand to make 10 times your money if that 30% comes up. You should take that every time. You should take it every time, even if it's 20%. You should take it every time, even if it's 15%. That is the thinking. And you'll be wrong, wrong, wrong. If it's a 15% or a 20% chance, you'll be wrong 4 times for every 1 time you're right. And you'll be rich and wrong. And there's so many people on Twitter who always are retrospectively right on so many things that are meaningless, and they barely got a Bitcoin in their account. That is the nature of the game. Okay, catch you later. Thanks for chatting. We appreciate shares. We appreciate likes. Don't forget, there's also pure gold. Diversify into pure gold. Links below. Boom, click it, grab some silver. Silver's low, it's turning. Oils and energy is turning. Traditional markets are turning. This is all about the taper. 360-degree analysis in all markets. It's incredibly powerful. Distribute assets. Don't be 100% all in. Have a little bit out. Accumulate each month. Send a little bit to other places, because there are circumstances. Don't see crypto as a godsend that won't be controlled by the same people. They will never let you have your own money in freedom. That is not their goal. Control is their absolute goal, and that's how it's coming at you. Bye for now.